Okay, super. Gabrielle, thank you for making this possible. I've been
Oh,
watching
thank
throughout
you.
the night. You have, I don't know how you're still awake, buddy.
Well, mate. Mate, sí.
That's exactly right. Well, my version is coffee, but yours is stronger.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back online. We're very, very grateful for the opportunity to interact with Dr. Connie Kamm and her team. I've known Connie personally for quite a few years. We were reminiscing now, and we opted for not putting a number to the number of years that we've known each other, but it's always been a joy to interact with her, follow her progress at a distance. Connie has always been an avid learner, and she's translated her love of learning into her actions. And what she's going to share with us now with her team is the fruit of many years of uh, study, dedication, learning. She's the hardest working person that I know. So, Connie, it's all yours, and thanks again for hosting this segment for us.
Absolutely our pleasure. I'm going to share the screen. Is that all right, Gabrielle? Okay, here we go. And uh, and we're going to go to this slide. All right. Um, we are also excited to be with you on this phenomenal opportunity. And I wanted to introduce the people who will be joining me. As Gabrielle just said, I'm Connie Kamm, and I'm from Kamm Solutions. And I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with these people and have such deep admiration. I'm going to give an introduction, and then Christine Barella, Dr. Barella, is going to talk about the Innovation Center, a newly developed program. Following that presentation, we will have a presentation from Dr. Barraza and Ms. Beth Schultz, who will be talking about their wonderful, wonderful organization, High Scope, which focuses on the early childhood, whereas Christine will be focusing on high school. And then also joining us would be Camille Bricks and Hana Horiuchi. Sorry, Hana, I'm practicing. And they're co-directors of the Levitt Lab at Arizona State University, but they're housed at the University of Chicago, hoping to open another lab there. So you'll hear from all of these individuals. I want to start out with the mindset that we all are following in our work, and I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, and then I'll turn your attention over to Dr. Barella. So we've probably all seen this quote from Einstein, and we relate to it now. All of us who are watching, who are participating in this fabulous event, we have to create a new map. You can't use an old map to explore a new world, and this is a very new world. When you take a look at the changes in time that really changed world culture from the 1780s steam power all the way through electricity, mass production, computers to today's agentic AI, cyber physical systems, we can see that the trajectory of change in the world is more rapid now than ever. And we are all acknowledging that. And these guests who have joined me have built that knowledge into their program. The cyber physical systems, the 3D printed human cells, the robotic taxis. I live in Arizona and I see these taxis on the road every single day. Every single day, can't drive out of my neighborhood, and there are no drivers. The cars are just driving themselves, picking people up. What we all know is that the biggest change in our current time is agentic AI. And when we reflect back to our education system, the query is, are we really preparing our students to be leaders in a thriving future? In order to do that, we have to be leaders of a thriving future as well. This is a slide. These are slides from John Seely Brown, who was a leading scientist for Xerox and now sits on many boards and is a real leading thinker in organizational effectiveness and computers in anything dealing with that tech world. And he made the point at an ASU, Arizona State University commencement, that our world used to be a lot more like this schooner. Our education system was a lot more like this schooner, going from port A to port B to port C. Sometimes the winds would blow, sometimes the seas were rough, but basically it had its pattern. Trying to live in our world today and lead education in our world today is a lot more like this picture of this raft. We don't know what's coming. It's happening fast. We have to respond quickly. We have to educate our children to also be leaders in that kind of a turbulent future. So we always ask the question, how do we best educate children today to be future-ready global citizens in this world of exponential change? And the individuals who have joined me today are responsible for programs that are really addressing how do we do that best. This is from an article that my team wrote titled Empowered to Learn, Ready to Lead, the Promise of Student and Staff Agency. As I've listened to the conversations that have gone on in this 24 hours of change for education, a lot of people are talking about agency, giving children voice and choice, responding, respecting their abilities to think. Same thing with staff. We want to give staff voice and choice. So this is from another article that we wrote. Agency is opening the door for students to lead their own learning, but cultivating transversal competencies is what makes it possible. So all of our work relies on these competencies. Now, if you think about a timeline and you think about a parallel line that would be these innovations that have changed our world, we have to transverse not to the past, but we must be planning for the present. And each program you're going to hear planning for the future. And each program you hear about today is going to be leaning into the future. Here are the transversal competencies, hence the word transversal, that line pointing to the future. We've put them into four categories, four groups. One is thinking dynamically. Whatever we do with our students, we have to stimulate their curiosity, inspire their creativity, ensure that they are innovative, thinking critically, agile, problem solving. The other guide for all of us on this call, and I think many people who are listening who have participated in this fabulous program, is that kids need to know themselves, hence agency. How do they know their own self-efficacy and regulating themselves, motivating themselves, that growth mindset and resilience? The third area is caring about others, intercultural awareness, empathy, compassion, openness. And then our fourth area that's guided our programs is how do we stimulate students to engage with one another, collaborate effectively, develop those social skills, conflict resolution, emotional intelligence. So these four areas we have emphasized in all of our programs, which you're going to be hearing about momentarily. And this is from we're writing a book now titled Leaders of a Thriving Future. And we have to not be leaning in the past. And you're going to hear me talk a lot about the emerging future, planning from the emerging future. What do we see happening? That's where we educate our children. So although we're acknowledging that we have to help students to develop basic skills, we also, again, want to inspire dynamic thinking, self-efficacy, coherence, and compassion. And to this end, we are writing a book, and I'm going to upload a table that I've created that might be of interest to you. We talk about what's the continuum, how you move from a staid leadership approach to the leadership approach that is reflective, courageous, that focuses on coherence in the organization. The other area you're going to hear about, and this is connected to our transversal competencies, we are acknowledging that everything has to change, just not the way we teach kids in the classrooms, but the leadership approach, the teaching approach, leading to student engagement, agency, real world connections. Curriculum design has to change, not just publishers' programs, but let's look at our community. Let's look at the kids in our class. That's where curriculum begins. We want it to be interdisciplinary, project-based. Professional learning has to change. How can we make it a transformative and personalized experience? Educator collaboration has to be based in trust and inquiry and be reflective. And then community connections. How do we include the community? How do we flatten out the walls of our buildings, of our classrooms, and allow the world in to create authentic partnerships? This is the continuum that we're writing our book from, and I will upload a link at the end of this program. And all seven of the areas talk about how do we move from maintaining to innovating and envisioning. These programs that we're going to be discussing now have lived in this area in all seven of the continuum areas of focus. So with that said, I want to turn this over to Dr. Barella, who is actually the executive director of the Tempe Union Innovation Center. So Christine, do you want to take it from here?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Connie, so much. And just an honor and a pleasure to be here and to share about the Innovation Center. I'm going to start off with the vision, and the vision is empowering tomorrow's innovators today. And Tempe Union High School District serves 6 comprehensive high schools. And how the Innovation Center began is the superintendent at the time, Dr. Kevin Mendeville, he recognized that we needed to do something different within our public high school district. We needed to give the students a different opportunity to choose for a different way of learning. And so we decided that we were going to go on this journey because we knew what was best for students, and it was we needed to do something different. So we were fortunate enough as a district to be able to hire a consultant, which is Dr. Connie Kamm, and truly an amazing consultant, to help guide and direct us on this journey. Because without any experience with this, we really needed somebody with the expertise that could really help us collaborate and really reach all of our stakeholders to figure out what did innovation mean for Tempe Union? Because innovation means something different to everybody. And so we really needed to figure out within our community and our business partners and students and staff, like what does innovation mean for Tempe Union High School District? And really, what can we do as a public high school to bring innovation? And so that first year, I'm going to kind of lay it out in 3 years. So our first year, we had Dr. Cam help us as well, but we did a lot of research. When I say we, it was basically her and I really collaborating with one another. I found a lot of research articles. We visited several schools within the state, and there was a team of district office personnel, the executive team, and Dr. Mendeville. I would set up the tours. We'd go to different schools within the state of Arizona. We also went outside of the state as well to visit schools. We just really wanted to get different views and different perspectives of innovation. And we also did surveys. We had a very strong student group that we met with extensively to ask them what would you like to see different in education? And so we were able to get the student voice for sure. We got parent voice and our business voices as well. We had most school districts, as we all know, have business partners. So we started with the business partners that we had relationships with. And we did workshops with them. Connie led all these workshops with me and really talked with them and figured out what did they think innovation meant. And we also had a committee of 60 individuals across the district from every high school, pretty much in every area, from English, from assistant principal to counselor, to the executive team. So we wanted to have a very well-rounded committee to review all of the data that we gathered within our community and outside the community to figure out what does innovation mean for Tempe Union High School District, and how could we proceed with innovation within our district. And so that was the first year, really laying the groundwork and gathering the information, having the committee form what the district and the community wanted for innovation. And what was also very interesting was the qualitative study that Dr. Cam did within our district. It was 157 randomly selected students that took a survey, and really all the research that we had completed really solidified what the students really wanted. And within the survey, the top 3 was students number 1, really they wanted a stronger relationship with their teachers. As we know, relationships matter, and so they wanted stronger relationships. They wanted more hands-on learning opportunity, and they wanted to do more in the community, not just locally, but globally. The students are very interested in what's going on in the world. With all that's at their fingertips, they know everything that's going on. And so they really had a deep desire to give back. And then they understood like we have to learn the academic stuff from the textbooks, but could we really have more choice in the classroom, more freedom to dive into our passions and really give back, understanding that academics, yes, they still needed the academics. So with that survey and all the data that we gathered, that very first year, we were able to hire 5 teachers to help plan what the Innovation Center was going to look like, taking all of the information from the previous year. So we hired 5 teachers, and the interview process was very extensive because we had to find teachers that would think outside the box and were not afraid to try new things, and if you will, not be traditional. So we had a 2-day extensive interview process, and I won't go through all of that, but it was very extensive. And we found 5 that were exceptional, and we knew that they would help us forge forward with this innovation. And so we established during that first year the typical vision, mission, and our values, and exactly what every single day would look like. And I'm going to get into that a little bit further down with the slides, but we also had to recruit business partners because we knew we needed business partners involved in what we were going to create. So they took the time to establish business partnerships with the current business partners that we had, also getting referrals and cold calling and having meeting with business partners and explaining what we wanted to do with this program. And we had 80 businesses without hesitation say, we're on board. We will do whatever you need us to do. Some of them provided projects and problems and weekly mentors. And some said, hey, we'll be on call if you need us. We'll do whatever you need us to do. So businesses, what we found, they were eager and really had a desire to help us. And so that was very uplifting to all of the educators, because I think sometimes educators get a little bit fearful of business partners to think, oh, are they really going to understand? Do they really want to partner? So we found that they were truly supportive and amazing. We also had to design a system to keep track of everything, and which was very extensive. And then what would every day look like with our students? And I'll get a little bit more into that with our program. And then we did work on what we wanted our students to walk away with, what skills we wanted them to continue to work on. Not that any one of us, even as adults, perfect any specific skills to excellence, although we always strive, but we created our mission and also the learner leader profile. So our mission was activating student ingenuity, developing student agency, and engaging in authentic collaboration that promotes empathy, perseverance, and critical thinking. And also we came up with our learner leader profile, which was critical thinking, resilience, agility, integrity, initiative, and empathy. And these were always on top of mind with our students every single day. We had them everywhere. We talked about them a lot. The students even had to go through and self-reflect on how they were doing in these areas because they knew the purpose of the Innovation Center. Obviously, high school academics, you have to, go towards your high school graduation, which they could earn 3 credits, but also the skill set that they knew that they wanted. They knew that they needed to work on these, and so we helped them with that. And then year 3 was Go Year. And so basically what we had developed was a high school program that took education and bridged real world challenges with our business partners and our projects that the business partners wanted our students to work on. And so they worked on really authentic problems or projects with their business partner. And they also, how it worked, they attended 3 hours in the morning or 3 hours in the afternoon. The way it was set up, they're at their home high school and they were transported to our program in a very innovative center that the district had, fortunately for us, renovated and made it very like a Google space or an Apple space. It was very innovative. And then again, every day we emphasize the learner leader profile for our students to grow in those areas. And yes, challenging for them because they were used to traditional, like many of our students in the classroom. They sit in the classroom and, they listen to the teacher and they take tests and, there might be a project here or there, but the way we were conducting our school and our learning was completely different. And so we actually had to teach the students how to do that. And so our Go Year, we took the first 4 weeks of really intentional projects and intentional activities to help our students get out of their traditional mindset into more of the creative mindset of being just student agency and being creative and really opening up their mind of what they could possibly do. And we had to remind them weekly to do that. And many of you probably that are running programs with older students recognize that's what has to happen. And so we didn't give up because it was hard for the students and they knew that, but they knew that it was good for them. So anyway, that's another whole way of getting students to continue to move forward. And then so how it worked. And so basically, like I shared, we had business partners. And what the business partners did is, with the help of the learning facilitators, which were our teachers, come up with a project or a problem that they wanted to present to the students. So they came up with a problem or project, and they actually came in person or virtually, and they would pitch it to the students. And that was, I want to say, such an inspiration to our students. They were like, oh my gosh, the business partner actually wants me to select their project. And just it was just amazing to watch these students flourish and grow in their confidence. And so the students would then pick their top 3, and then we would put them in groups of 4 to 5 students that were facilitated by a learning facilitator. So learning facilitators would meet with these teams of students every single day. to help them go along the process. And then they had to meet with their business mentor as often as they deemed appropriate when they had questions or they wanted to share something with the business partner to get their feedback or ask clarifying questions. And that was also up to the students to manage and plan all of that. And then what the teachers did to manage all of this is during our learning year, we conducted, as you see on the screen, we created 5 phases that our students would work through. And each phase is much more extensive than this. But basically, we had to figure out how are we going to help our students work through this process when they've never done this before. So we had 5 phases, as you can see on the screen, learning phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the students had to go through these 5 phases, giving them guidance. And we were able to get a software management system, much like in the business world. It's called Trello in the business world, but ours was, it's an education project management system called HeadRush, and that's actually the name of the company. And they actually had created the software program. They were new to the space for project management, specifically for education. So we actually met with HeadRush and asked them to do a few customizations for us, in which they did. And so our students had access and used this every single day, and so did our learning facilitators. So it was amazing. You'll see we laid out the phases in our project management system and walking the students through each phase. And they couldn't go on to phase 2 until they had completed phase 1. So as you can see, the first one is they had to create a contract within their team, and they had to do research to figure out what that contract should look like. And we had lots of examples for them. And then also they had to make sure that they understood what the business partner wanted, which was the driving question. And then the project summary. So they did all of this. And then the learning facilitator would help them along the way. When they had questions, they would ask the learning facilitator, and the learning facilitator wouldn't just give them an answer. They would respond with another question to help guide and lead their thinking process. So that tool was very instrumental in keeping track of all the projects. And then I'm going to go on to a student project that we did, just an example. We worked with the Tempe Community Council, the city of Tempe. And so they wanted our students to work on an organization at the Tempe Community Council they had created where our students could go to their high school and they could pick out clothes, shampoo, conditioner, like all of the essentials in life. And they needed to figure out how they could manage it because it was not being managed very well. They had all of this product just in this room, just piled up everywhere. They didn't have any organization. They didn't know what each one of the stores at the schools needed. So they asked our students to actually create a inventory and how to know when to put inventory at the schools, and social media, how to get the high schools the students to know with their families they could come and they didn't have to purchase. It was all free. So it was simply amazing. The students loved that project. That was just one highlight that we wanted to do. And then the skills that the students learned, as you can see, they had to present. They had to stand up and present. And I want to share with you, our students that came to us, we took students that were on an individual education plan, a 504 plan. We had students that were behind in credit, some 2 or 3 credits behind in high school, C average, D average. And then we had a set of students as well that were very high performing honors and AP students. So we had the mix, and they all worked together incredibly well. And it was so amazing to see the friendships develop amongst the high schools, but also just to see all the students thrive and learn. And it really solidified my thought that when students are engaged in something, they rise to the occasion. So grades don't necessarily, as we all know, reflect the intellect of a student. And that was truly learned at the Innovation Center from the students as well, which is the whole point, right? What students wanted to accomplish. And then the learning facilitators, that was a whole nother level of having to help the learning facilitators with this new way of teaching and learning. And so we met every single day. We became a very close team, working through conflict, changing things on the fly. What do we need to do? And it really helped the teachers understand too a new way of learning for students, how impactful it was, not only for them and their teaching, but more importantly, they could see the students' lives transform in front of their eyes. And just how we grew with our partnerships with businesses and with parents. It was just simply amazing. And I wanted to throw in a little bit of research for our district assessments. We all know that assessments are important for schools for a variety of reasons, but just we spent 1 hour a day on projects, just the way that the school system was conducted, our schedule, 1 hour a day in teaming projects. And then the students spent 1 hour weekly with their learning facilitator with the course that they were taking. So they would have spent 5 hours in their high school, 1 hour each day in their high school each week, but they only spent 1 hour. And our students outscored the district in these areas, 5.4% higher in sophomore English, 4.2 higher in science, and 4.4 higher in economics. And the state assessment they did as well. And the reason, we know the reason is the students rose to the occasion. We, the adults, believed in them. We gave them choice. We gave them voice. They found value in what they were doing every day. And so their mind was open to just the sky's the limit of what they can learn. And they really thrived. And it was obvious when they only spent 1 hour a week in English, but they scored higher. Just simply amazing. All right, I'm going to get to the testimonials. We have a couple here. The Innovation Center gives me space to breathe in an area where I can be creative in my own way. I can see other students also being creative and I learn from them. I look at the Innovation Center as what my schooling should have always been. My favorite part about the project that I'm working on is being able to contact someone who is already in the field. They give us information not only about the businesses we're working with, but life in general. And then this testimonial, I literally received it last week. The student said, I just wanted to reach out and tell you I have been accepted for a Marine ROTC scholarship. I will have my entire tuition paid for at university of my choosing. And I wanted to tell you just how formative my experience was with you and at the Innovation Center. I owe myself credit, but I would like to just tell you that you and that experience changed my life. I am reaching out to all my teachers who looked after me and encouraged me in person, but I thought texting you was best. Thank you for taking a chance on the program and believing in it. Hard work pays off. And before I go to the next slide, I just wanted to share that this student came in, specifically this student, very disappointed with education, things that happened to her in school, in elementary school and high school, and she just was not a fan of teachers or administrators. And so really working with her and building her trust, she truly within the first month thrived when she realized how much we cared about her and that we cared about what she thought and we cared about what she wanted to learn. It was simply amazing. So basically to sum things up, in closing reflection, innovation happens when vision meets courage. The Innovation Center changed how not only students but staff see learning. And the Innovation Center experience empowers students to think, create, and lead with clarity, purpose, and confidence. So I want to thank you so much for listening, and hopefully, something will help you along the way if you want to change what's happening in your city, town, schools, or what have you. So thank you again, and thank you, Dr. Kamm and Gabrielle.
Thank you, Dr. Barella. The program is truly amazing. And one thing I want to add to what Dr. Barella said is these students didn't just work on one project in a year. They could work with several different companies throughout the year. So they could really get a look at the real world and what future careers might be out there that interest them. Our next guest, Dr. Alejandra Barraza and Ms. Beth Schultz, are going to talk about this incredible center, HighScope. It's an organization that focuses on early childhood learning. So we've gone from high school now to early childhood. And this truly is the vision that they live, empowering lives through active learning. So Ms. Schultz, Dr. Barraza, do you want to take it from here?
Thank you, Connie. And I just want to make sure, thank you for the invitation. This is an important project that you're doing for education across the world. I do have to apologize. I'm going to have to hop off. NAUIC, which is the National Association of the Education of the Young Child, is in their annual conference. HighScope is their platinum sponsor, so I do have to attend a session, but I'll be here a few minutes just to share about HighScope. But one of the things I do want to clarify, HighScope is not a center. We are actually an organization. We are a nonprofit organization that actually builds curriculum. And if Connie, we could go to the next slide, we can share a little bit more about HighScope, but I just want to make sure that there's not this notion that we are a school or a program. Rather, we are a nonprofit and we are also in the intersection of research, practice, and professional development. So we build curriculum. We've done it for in 2020, it was our 50th anniversary, so we're 55 years old. But also the foundation of HighScope is with the Perry Preschool study. This is the study that led the world into understanding the importance of investing in early childhood education. And so that is the work that started, the research that started back in 1962 over in Ypsilanti, Michigan, where we continue to have our headquarters. A little bit about the HighScope Perry Preschool study. Our founder, Dr. David Weichert, was concerned that children in the Ypsilanti community, predominantly Black children, were being placed in special education services, or they were not graduating from high school. So he wanted to do something different. And so he reached out to 9 principals across the area. Only one agreed to do something different. And that was Dr. Charles Beatty. And he opened basically their gymnasium, and they created a preschool program that had never occurred for these children. So over 5 years, 123 children were randomly chosen to participate in this program or not. And we were able to follow these individuals. They are now close to 60 years old, and we have learned so much from this study, because what we learned is that the children that participated in this study were able to have better income, finish high school, go to college. They had less pregnancy rates for the children. And even we followed crime rates. And even within those, the participants actually had, if they did have crimes, they were nonviolent crimes. So in 2010, Dr. James Heckman from the University of Chicago, with his work in economics, was able, with what it's called the Heckman equation, and with our data, they were able to identify that for every dollar that you invest in high quality early childhood, the return upon investment for the community is up to $13. Dr. Heckman won the Nobel Prize in economics, so it's an important study that supports our work. And it's really what set the foundation of then creating the HighScope Educational Research Foundation as a place where we were going to build curriculum. I'm really excited that Beth is joining, and she can also share more about HighScope. One of the things that we pride ourselves at HighScope is that we have practitioners that are also in our research department, that have been either teachers, principals. And because a lot of the work, even from what we learned in the HighScope Perry Preschool study, came from the teachers. So the researchers and the teachers working together in building a curriculum that would meet the needs of the children. So I am going to turn it over to Beth, and she'll be able to share with you a lot of the most important components of what makes HighScope. I'm not going to call it only a curriculum. I'm going to probably say it's an approach. It is a bigger picture of what we do in a classroom, and it's a completely different mindset of how the teacher approaches and talks to the children. So Connie, thank you so much for this
Thank you.
incredible opportunity to be able to share what we do at HighScope across the world. So thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it
for
over
being
to
with
Beth.
us. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Be safe.
Thank you. And thanks again for having Ale and I on this presentation today. So our curriculum coming out of the Perry study, as Ale kind of mentioned, then formed the HighScope curriculum approach. And at the heart of it, if you kind of looked in the middle of that wheel up on the upper right-hand corner, in the middle is what we think of as active learning. But while this active learning is happening, we have planning time with children. Then we have our due time, which we typically call work time in the classroom. And that is all child driven. It's according to child choice. And then that time closes and we come together and we have a review time, which we call recall time with the children. So that plan, do, review sequence is the heart of our curriculum. And so within that planning time, children are making choices. They're communicating with their teacher what they're going to plan, what they're going to do, what area they're going to work on. Some children, once they hit that 4-year-old age, they can give you a very, very detailed plan of a painting they're going to create um, in the art area. And if I were the teacher in that classroom, I would go over to the art area and I would kind of follow up on that plan. And I would keep my questions very open-ended. Tell me about this first, piece of, this red line you've created. And then I pause and wait for that child to take that, let them think, and then let them express where they're at in this plan. And so that moves you into that do work time. And that can happen again, it happens in every interest area in the preschool classroom. And then again, we have cleanup time and we review. I'm going to backtrack a little bit, but during that, due part, we all know 2.5-year-olds to 5-year-olds, there's conflict. So another heart, I guess, a piece of our curriculum is we do have 6 steps to conflict resolution. So we model children through 6 steps and we come together and work out the problem together with a lot of reflective, language from the teacher, but also lots of listening. So our teachers are always engaged and they're also very, the word I'm looking for is intentional, very intentional and always keeping it within the children's view and the children's ideas. And again, we come back and we review their work. And again, we're always building that language. So within that language, during recall time, the children are telling us if they carried out their plan. Some children start to plan for the next day while we're recalling, the last hour. Connie, you can go ahead and go to the next slide.
Thank you.
So these are just a couple of things that Ale wanted to point out, and that was really a tidbit that I gave you about our curriculum, but these are some of the things also happening at High Scope right now. We have some generous funding by from General Motors. We have been working on some STEM kits, and we will be working through some STEAM kits actually through kindergarten now. We are expanding a space on our campus in Ypsilanti, Michigan, our headquarters, where we're going to have a building that will house more, I guess, space, you could say, or classrooms for that adult learning piece. So going back to our curriculum point from the prior slide, we also provide professional learning to train early childhood professionals in the high scope approach. So we have an adult learning branch to our work. And we're hoping that this community space is not only going to be used by us, but we can open it up to our local community as well. And then we are also working on some brand new funding through the Gates Foundation, where we will be enhancing and aligning our curriculum, our current curriculum, our infant, actually just our preschool with the Gates Foundation, updating curriculum, updating our professional learning, and also working within some of our assessments. And our assessments will go back to the fidelity of our approach. And the Bingham Foundation, that's why Ale had to hop off because she's at NACI and she's meeting with them. So that's another family foundation that we are currently working with. We're also working with Mecklenburg County. This is the research branch of High Scope out of North Carolina, where we have followed children right now. We've finished the pre-K phase and we're following these children through 5th grade. So a 10-year project there. And again, our professional learning, we are in every state within, there is a program or multiple programs in every state throughout the US that does practice the high scope curriculum. And we also work internationally. So there are many places around the world that practice the high scope approach.
Beth, thank you so much. You and
Thank
Ali
you.
are doing incredible work. And I just wanted to mention to our listeners that your plan do review process is something we all need to carry throughout education, throughout our K-12 education. And it's very powerful. You're giving kids choice and voice. It's the heart of agency. You're asking them to reflect on their work. You're asking them to resolve conflicts in the process. So all of those areas in the transversal competencies you're doing with young childhood, and it's only setting kids up for more success in life. So thank you for being with us.
Yes, and I just want to share one thing added to that, Connie.
Okay, sure.
And we didn't add a slide about, like support from the field or quotes or whatnot, but we did have a demonstration preschool at one time. And it was a sub in that demonstration preschool. And we had one of our 4-year-olds go off to kindergarten. We kept in touch with the family a little bit. And the little student would come home from kindergarten and tell his parents, well, now that I went to kindergarten, I don't get to problem solve.
Yeah, that's horrible.
So it was very positive for us to hear we
Yes,
made
but
an
sad.
impact, but
Yeah.
it just shows us that we need to impact those early elementary years as well with those 6 steps to
Absolutely.
conflict resolution.
Absolutely. Well done. Thank you so much. All right, now we're going to move to our last guests, and I'm going to give them a little, they haven't seen this preview, but this is kind of how I became familiar with the Levitt Lab, which Camille and Hannah will be talking about in a moment. My grandson, for 3 years, has been in the precursor at ASU Prep Digital Local Program, where students can take university classes. They have a guidance counselor that takes them through their own high school classes as well, so that they get all the credits they need. But they have access to the full university, and I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, but Arizona State University is one of the largest public universities in the United States, and they have amazing and very deep programs. Well, this is my grandson in the navy blue sweatshirt and his buddies, and part of their local program, in addition to taking college courses, was to engage in problem-based learning. Well, these 5 gentlemen took university architecture classes with the university students. So when they were asked to come up with a problem that needs to be solved, they chose hurricanes and the damage hurricanes are doing around the world, and to create a building that could withstand or resist hurricanes. So you'll see them here. They engaged in research. They had to do all the research to create what this building would become. They created the plans to build the building, or the model that you're seeing behind them, and then they had to showcase publicly what they learned. This program has been phenomenal, and now the Levitt Lab has taken it to the next level. All right, I'll let you take over, Hannah and Camille.
Thank you so much, Dr. Connie Kamm, for that wonderful introduction and for the generous invite to be here today. So I'm here to present with my colleague, Hannah Horiyuchi, on the ASU Prep Tempe location, which is powered by the Levitt Lab. Hannah and I are both co-directors at the Levitt Lab. We work closely with our boss, Stephen Levitt, who you may know as a renowned economist and the author of the best-selling book series, Freakonomics. And we're just so excited to talk to you today about the program we launched this summer and hope to grow really quickly here. So Hannah, take it away.
Yes, absolutely. So I just want to start by diagnosing the problem, and I'm sure we're all familiar with this as we're all here talking about innovation in education, but also just because we've all been through this traditional education system and our products of it. But our founder, Stephen Levitt, as Cami mentioned, kind of saw this problem through both his perspective as a father and an educator. So at home, he watched his children go through school with the mentality that grades mattered so much more than genuine understanding, and just finishing the homework, getting it done, that's what mattered. On the flip side, with his students as a professor, he kind of saw the same pattern, but on the other side of the coin, where these super bright kids are just more worried about what's going to be on the test than pursuing what's interesting to them in office hours. And so over time, it really became clear to him that that our education model was just not keeping pace with what is needed from it in the real world. And basically, we're teaching students to tests instead of preparing them for real life. And that's what inspired him to create the Levitt Lab, which is our organization and our school. So I just want to really quickly talk a little bit about our partnership. Steve was out looking for schools that were doing just this in education, allowing for more student autonomy and just centered around student interest and flexibility. And he got wind of the Khan World School, which was founded by Salman Khan, who is also the founder of Khan Academy. And this is a school that allowed for more student autonomy and initiative and just flexibility, but it was entirely online. And Steve really believes in the magic of in-person learning and just that intangible, like learning from other people that happens when people are gathered in the same space. And so he reached out to Arizona State University, and I really cannot imagine a better partner for us. As Connie mentioned, it's a huge public university, super forward in terms of innovation and education. And so we really found the perfect partner to help us house this wonderful school. And so we are located, our pilot program is on the Tempe campus at ASU. And this is kind of just, as I'm sure you all know, ASU kind of has this large education web of schools. And so, Connie, if you'll just go to the next slide, this kind of situates us. So we're an in-person model, and we're part of the ASU Preparatory Academy, and we are located in Tempe. So just the Levitt Lab, ASU Prep in Tempe. Great. So I've talked a lot about the problem with education and just kind of our gripes with it and also our partnership, but I want to speak a little bit to what we're trying to build. The Levitt Lab is really our vision of what school can be when we center student curiosity. Instead of memorizing answers, we really want to encourage students to ask big questions and grapple with them and kind of grapple with the answers to those big questions that they're asking and really use that curiosity and intrinsic desire to learn more about the world to drive their education and really customize it. So we just want students to create and connect and like discover big things that they're curious about and really use that as their curriculum for guiding their education. And really our goal with that is for them to realize that learning is something that's wonderful and should be practiced both in and outside of school, and just hopefully we foster a love of learning that lasts them for life and prepares them for the rest of their lives.
Thank you, Hannah. So I'm going to speak a little bit to the components of our model, which are 5 components. So I'm going to start with the core. So the core is basically a tenet of our school that is linked to state standards. It's what the kids need to graduate, but we do it in a way that is online and allows students to go at their own pace. And so they're not, tied to either being behind where their peers are or ahead of where their peers are. They can really be at their right learning level and go to how quickly or how slowly they feel comfortable with the support of their guide, which is our terminology for teachers. So this looks like biology, geometry, and world history. Students tend to focus more on core in the morning, working individually, and transition to these other awesome activities in the afternoon. So I next want to talk about Wonder Sessions. Wonder Sessions are wonderful. They're once a week labs that ignite student curiosity. We have tons of different interactive topics that we talk to the students about, anything from how big the universe is really, to are all of the maps in the world wrong? Just last week, one of our guides, Amy Johnson, did this amazing lab about optical illusions. And so the kids like engaged with each other and were walking around the classroom and trying to like look at these different optical illusions. And just the kids had a great time. We had really good feedback from them about that particular activity. And again, these are things that you wouldn't otherwise get in a traditional classroom. They're really just about for the fun and wonder of the world. And next we have seminar. This is my personal favorite part of the Levitt Lab, which is a once a week discussion about real world topics that the students have seen in both their personal lives, but also maybe are just getting introduced to for the first time. And this helps students build communication skills, how to data literacy because they're engaging with real world data. And it connects, to things that really matter to them. Like, is the world getting better? What's it like to leave a good life? Just this week, I was part of a seminar where we talked about is organic food all it's hyped up to be? And what do we think about as consumers when we're engaging with our food and our food systems? And our kids were pulling out maps and data from, agricultural experts from around the world. And so it gives the students a chance to, formulate themselves and their own opinions and thoughts about the world while talking to each other. Next, we have probably our students' favorite part of the Levitt Lab, which is in-depth explorations. These are student-led projects that can either be independent, collaborative, they're usually over multiple weeks, and they're really centered on student curiosity, where they can build that curiosity into expertise. We have a whole catalog of IDEs for students to choose from, or they can choose to create their own, and they work closely with their guides in making a project plan that they hold themselves accountable to and deadlines, so they can then present their findings to the community. So we've had IDEs on a mission to Mars, the freedom in science fiction, and I was just talking with Harry and Charles, who are doing one on prions, and they walked me through their 3D model of prions that they built, and it's just so exciting to see kids' interests come to life, and give them a lot of agency and ownership over their interest, and hopefully then invites them to meet with experts and get really well equipped for life after school, but also just like life in their community. Next, we have our electives and college courses. Part of our blessing of being a part of the ASU umbrella is that we can offer students the chance to take ASU courses that they can actually earn credit towards their degrees on starting when the time they join us. And so students are taking game design, other college level math classes, and getting to do that on campus here in Tempe, or even a universal learner class where they can learn online. At their convenience. And so this is just a great opportunity. Goes to show just all the different multi-dimensions of learning that we try to foster at the Levitt Lab, and to get more neuro connections, and excitement about, again, as Hannah said, a lifelong learning. Key to this model working is our guides. So we don't think of our guides as traditional teachers, as those who own all of the knowledge, but actually people who are just supposed to be there for students, be their mentor, be their champion, and help guide them through their learning journey. And so this is the point of contact for parents, and help students set academic and personal goals, and that they check in with them and work towards together. Help students build and customize their own schedules for, again, all those different learning opportunities that I mentioned before. Helps them push them a little bit and explore new interest, and develop themselves as not only learners, but real human beings, that have a lot of room to grow. And it's just we're very, very lucky to have the wonderful guides that we have today. Our pilot school, as I said, opened in Tempe this July. That was our student orientation. We have 50 high school students across all grade levels. We have 5 guides and 2 co-leaders, and we have over 40 different projects that are currently being worked on by students, and shared about. So that's just a snapshot of what's going on in at least the first 3 or so months of school that we've been having here at Tempe. Yeah, thank you so much.
I know we just threw a ton of information at you, and hopefully it's made more tangible by setting this in the context of a day and kind of describing what a day at the Levitt Lab looks like. So I'm gonna do that for us. So school starts at 9 a.m. and as Cami said, we have guides, and so a day could start with if I was a student checking in with my house guide, Allison, and that's a 30-minute conversation where I sort of go into my academic goals, but also personal things and just making sure I'm on track. After that, as Cami mentioned, we have core as one of the tenets of our model, and so I would be independently working through some of my core at my own pace, and kind of that self-directed individual work time. We like to intersperse our days with a certain amount of independent versus collaborative time. And so maybe if I spent my morning working on core by myself, I'd want to eat lunch in the community room and play chess with some of my friends. And we frequently see this happening. We have a room with a bunch of board games, and the students are in there and just having a good time and bonding with each other. And that's like interspersed with learning, which we think is very productive. And then at 1 p.m., as Cami mentioned, I might have a seminar where I'm really getting into that collaborative, interactive aspect of learning and diving deep into the ethics of CRISPR gene editing with my peers, and kind of like going back and forth and using data to kind of formulate my opinion on this really controversial topic. And then also, as Cami said, we have IDEs or these projects that are kind of the cornerstone of our model. And so maybe the rest of my day is just dedicated to doing some research and kicking off my project and kind of getting it to the place I want it to be. So a very self-structured day, but kind of with these individual and collaborative aspects of learning woven in together.
Yeah, lastly, I want to highlight our IDE showcase. This is something that happens once a quarter where the whole TLL community, students, family, friends, and neighbors, we come together to celebrate the accomplishments students have had in that past quarter on their IDE, and so get to share where they are in their learning journey. And so in this photo, you can see of our last IDE showcase, Jenny, one of our students, is demonstrating and has samples of the different frostings that she made for her IDE on the science and history of cake decoration. And so anyways, it's just a wonderful time for students to celebrate each other. I think that's one of the most wonderful things about our school is just the collaborative nature and how much students want to build each other up and are excited about each individual uniqueness of their peers and making, a wonderful community together. But yeah, Hannah, finish this off.
Yeah, I just want to wrap up. We have a lot of text on the slide about if you are, this is a perfect fit for you, but I really want to speak to the kind of students that we do have. And so they are curious, they want more say in what they learn, they value supportive community, and are independent. And when I go to the Levitt Lab, I honestly think about what my high school experience could have been. Like, it is not a zero-sum game. Our students are so excited for each other, and because things are self-paced and they're allowed to pursue their own interest, it's not like me getting an A means someone else is not going to get an A. Like, it is such a wonderful collaborative environment where Harry and Charles are talking about prions, and then another student comes and joins them and asks them about it. And everyone is truly so wonderful and so committed to like helping each other learn. And it's just a really beautiful high school environment. And it makes me really excited about the potential of what high school can be for students. And yeah, I'm really excited about this model. And it's only been 3 months, but it's been wonderful.
And I can give a personal testimony that it makes all the difference in the world on how students are ready to really interact with the world, because my grandson is out there now applying to universities and very responsible, very curious. It's a fabulous program, and the Levitt Lab has made it even better. We're not going to probably have enough time for questions, and I am sorry about that, but I did want to put up this slide, and Gabrielle, maybe you can guide us onto how to upload this for people. But if you want to take a screenshot, we all gave you information that you might find interesting. So in my case, it was the continuum, those 7 areas that we really focus on to truly lead change in education. HighScope's curriculum brochure, and then the Levitt Labs brochure as well. So those are our resources that we're more than happy to share with you, but I thought at least you can take a picture, and if it's interesting to you, you can search those URLs. And all I want to do is say thank you. We just so much appreciate this time to be with you and to showcase these fabulous programs. So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing. And Gabrielle, is there a way that I can actually upload those links for people that they can download?
No worries. I just captured the screen and I will upload them. No worries.
Thank you so much.
We'll
And
put them
thank
up on the
you
page.
all. We have 2 minutes for questions. Gabrielle, did any questions come in?
No, we're good. We're good. We're gonna
Okay,
wrap it up.
super.
Thank you. That was wonderful, super, very informative, very thorough. And again, I think it served ideally the purpose of this initiative, which is to share real life examples of what great educators like yourselves are doing on the ground, as opposed to a lot of theory that we get fed all the time. So this is wonderful. And the video will be available immediately on the YouTube channel, not yet edited without a proper cover. And then we will summarize it and work on it for next week. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a million.
Thank you all for everything you did. And Gabrielle, thanks for this opportunity.